Every year, on the 23rd of September, Kenya joins the world in marking the International Sign Language Day. The United Nations in 2018 declared 23rd September as Sign Language Day to commemorate the date that the World Federation of the Deaf was established in 1951.
Kenya National Association of the Deaf was started around in 1987. From that time, the association has been existing and it has done a lot. And we have been aiming in promoting human rights and also advocacy for the deaf rights in Kenya. Rights involve access to information, to making sure that deaf children also have equal right to education, also have the equal services just like other people in Kenya. So from that point, KNAD has been working, achieving achieving a specifically area in Kenyan Sign Language. You know, from that point, most of the deaf, by that time, many of the deaf people are not allowed to proceed with their schools, and finally that most of them were being dropped out to class 7. So, you know, when Kenya National Association of the Deaf was formed, so its work was to advocate for the deaf community to ensure that the education of them is inclusive. So by that time, most of the deaf people could not attain up to class 8 or PhD. So previously, Kenyan Sign Language was not in constitution, it wasn't recognized. So it is through the advocacy for the association which advocated the inclusive of sign language as a language, a recognized language in Kenya as a constitution of in 2010, which was formed in constitution. Now we have, which is a third national language in constitution. So now it is well recognized for the deaf community as their language. The theme for this year was about building inclusive society for the deaf in Kenya. This theme means that it's just a general way to make sure that all people, for example, the deaf people, that these people are also included in different parts of the community. It's just like that, who you are, any person, just the type of you are, is to ensure that these deaf people are also inside the community. So the theme is to ensure that make, like, for example, when we are inviting the policies, the government, the public, and different people. So we want to tell them that this theme is just all about to make sure that themselves also, there's no difference between the deaf person and normal people. Just like what you see in this election, when we had around 2 deaf who were sworn in, these people are also given chance. It means that these people are just like other people, and that's why it was building inclusive for the deaf society in Kenya.
This day marks the birth of an advocacy organization which has one of its main goals, the preservation of sign languages and deaf culture as prerequisites to the realization of human rights of the deaf people.
Association, it's made of branches. Yeah. Previously, we were working with regionals, where by the constitution, and now they were around. We had around 8 regions, and now we form around 11 branches, which is both Nairobi region, Rift Valley, Northeastern. So we have 2, Nyanza region we have 2, and Western as well. So all this association were made up through to grow. But now also we are working, having branches every county, 47 counties, so that we have all our routes to ensure every grassroots that's coming up, so that to make members of access work of the national, maybe starting small communities coming up with everyone to form a national association. Yeah. So remember this one, for now we have 11 branches. As now we are working on 47 counties to ensure that every county has a branch for inclusivity, whereby we advocate.
In Kenya, there are over 600,000 deaf people who can communicate through one other language, the sign language.
Yes, as we talk of sign language, I think you know very well that without you or without sign language of what I want, I don't think if it's possible for me to get what I want from you. And because you find like that in these different conferences, different institutions, it's very important that you personally as a doctor, you need to make sure that you also give you people services equally. It is not that because you think that it is only people will talk and hear is when the people who want services. Remember, in Kenya we have many different types of the people, and all these people need services and they need also the same services.
You and I might have come across a deaf person and we have problems communicating because you cannot understand them and they cannot understand you. To bridge this gap and barrier, sign language is meant to foster the communication between these two persons.
If not for education for the deaf community, it is not the deaf cannot be could be in school and social life just like other normal people. Also, again, we focus on health, access to health, health to information. You know, most of the time when the deaf people may be accessing the hospitals, so they need to have that services, or the doctor who can provide service in Kenyan Sign Language that they too can understand. So this also was one of the things that we focus as one of the economic empowerment, because low education could maybe sometimes make the hard life for the deaf community to come together. So we may look the way to see how the deaf people in Kenya can be empowered through economically.
Over the years, we have seen associations and organizations formed to advocate policies for the deaf people for the sole purpose of inclusivity. This year, the theme in Kenya is Building an Inclusive Society for the Deaf in Kenya.
The theme for this year was about building inclusive society for the deaf in Kenya. This theme means that it's just a general way to make sure that all people, for example, the deaf people, that these people are also included in different parts of the community. It's just like that who you are, any person, just the type of you are, is to ensure that these deaf people are also inside the community. So the theme is to ensure that for example, when we are inviting the policies, the government, the public, and different people. So we want to tell them that this theme is just all about to make sure that themselves also, there's no difference between the deaf person and normal people. Just like what you see in this election when we had around 2 deaf who were sworn in, these people are also given chance. It means that these people are just like other people, and that's why it was building inclusive for the deaf society in Kenya.
One of those organizations is the Kenya National Association of the Deaf, KNAD. The growth of sign language in Kenya has played a huge role in bridging the language barrier gap.
First, KNAD is made up of both deaf and hard of hearing. Yes. But what made this is just become a member. For you also to become a member, you must have, you have the types of this membership actually. We have the members association whereby our branches worked by registering the type of the people with us. So we find like that most of the branches that come and register with us with their own category, then now themselves, they also register with us.
As you might have noticed, news bulletins across media stations have a sign language interpreter. Majority of public and government functions and events have a sign language interpreter. But perhaps the biggest achievement is that Kenya's sign language is taught in schools.
So we have both corporate, annually, and association. So also government institutions, most of them are also with us, and they follow the rule and they find out how they can join us and cooperate with us, whether it is individual or corporate or an associate. So there is a different category annual fee that they paid, and also they join us and we cooperate together in the office.
But why was it important for the sign language to be taught in schools at that particular age? We ask Eunice on the role of government in facilitating and overseeing the implementation of some of these policies, particularly in legislation.
Sign language is very important to all of us, whether you are deaf, whether you are not deaf, anybody. Yeah, why? Because, for example, if maybe I just want to go to Japan, so whether you are there for a hearing, so you'll find out most of the time you might be stuck just because of language barrier. Yes, and but for you to understand the culture of this person, or maybe to integrate with them, is you must understand their language. Yeah, because it is not that they live alone, but it's just because we live with the people in the society, or they are the people that we are them in the society, and also we do services with them together. Also, likewise, hospital, everything, because sign language the language does not mean that this is for police, this is for hospital. No, the service is for everyone. I can say that the government itself is a bit trying, and but there have been an improvement in different areas of the government sectors. Yeah, most of the time we can't talk about KRA. They have tried to improve areas of sign language, because this is the more area that at the time when they say that if you not file your return, they will do this because they don't know who you are, they don't want to know. But more important that because the language or information that the deaf people get late, it's more important that the KRA also making sure that whatever we announce, we also have people because of this. And that's why you find that they have tried to improve on that again.
The Convention of the Rights of Persons with Disabilities recognizes and promotes the use of sign language. It makes clear that sign languages are equal in status to spoken languages and obligates state parties to facilitate the learning of sign language and promote the linguistic identity of the deaf community.
I want a job just because the way you are. I'm not going to look a job that because I am deaf, but it's just because just sign language only will allow me also to be with you in that community. So that is the aim of the theme that we have this year.
For that reason, KNAD also offers sign language lessons within the precincts. Meet Mr. George Ochola, a programs assistant at the association. His work involves coordinating the KNAD branches across the country.
But we want to do more a lot to ensure that it is not only in urban area but also in villages, to make people that in everywhere they are, it is very important that whatever you do in those marginalized area, sign language must be included. We don't want that people maybe say, you find like that, for example, in local hospitals. So you find like that, maybe you say this is a local place, we cannot afford sign language. It is not that you bring an interpreter, but it's you personally as a doctor. You could have learned that sign language. But I can tell you that this time it has really promoted, and many people have tried to learn at least basic sign language.
In his view, the growth of sign language has made progress, and he believes it is an improvement since the start of devolution in 2013. Sign language is vital to the growth and development of the deaf individual and critical to the achievement of the internationally agreed development goals.
Maybe let me talk about election. For example, I think when you check of these people representation in every county, around 21 counties that miss representation of person with disability. So, for example, me I can say I don't feel it is true, but it's not true actually, that these people maybe they do represent us. So, for example, maybe I think 25 now, which counties that they have only two. Let me talk of two counties that have representation of the deaf county.
It recognizes the importance of preserving sign languages as part of linguistic and cultural diversity. In legislation, the deaf are represented generally by persons living with disabilities. Kenya National Association of the Deaf is among organizations of persons with disabilities. The institutions have to collaborate and foster relations for the well-being of the groups of people they represent.
For example, when a deaf person is born at home, so it depends on maybe the variations of how. For example, let me talk of Kenya. For example, in Kisii, or maybe you find another person in Kambaland, Luo land, Kikuyu land. So both of them are grown in different communities, and now they speak different language. Now, so when this person born deaf for a child, from where he or she is, that's the language. This person needs to know that because I am deaf, my language is what? Sign language.
The World Federation of the Deaf invites all public places, public landmarks and official buildings, presidential houses, county buildings, city halls and others to be spotlighted in blue light on the 23rd of September.
Kenya has tried best to partner with the different associations, and one thing is that we do our best to ensure that the associations that we partner with, sometime also to make awareness that the services is more important that sign language is needed where you are.
By highlighting the blue color on their buildings and landmarks, it is a reaffirmation of the joint commitment to supporting national sign languages and showing solidarity with global deaf communities.
We are not where we before like now. We are now moving step to step as an association. Sign language, you can see that in most of the television. Yeah, most of the time we tried our best that every news, every television has a sign language interpreter, because before they couldn't recognize that. Without this association, I don't think if there is that awareness of sign language that now we are finding, everyone is trying to sign, everyone is trying to get assisted. It's just because of through this association that we partner with. And also as we speak with other persons with disability like blind, mental, different, all those ones. Also they make awareness also to ensure that himself and other persons, they are equal. They need the equal services.
As the world and Kenya marks the International Day of Sign Languages, the Kenya National Association of the Deaf seeks to bridge the gap and ensure that sign language is appreciated and widespread in Kenya. Reporting for EBN TV, my name is Cynthia Nanjala, and thank you for watching.